Elizabeth Hurley, the icon.
My best bit of advice would just be to keep going. As you get older, you're knocked down so many times. The only thing that matters is that you get up again.
Elizabeth Hurley.
Elizabeth Hurley.
Elizabeth Hurley.
Elizabeth Hurley.
British actor and model.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was a little girl. I always wanted to do something in show business.
We've got to talk about that dress.
It's a very famous dress. It's been in the Metropolitan Museum. It's been in the Victoria and Albert Museum. It's been on tour. Lady Gaga's worn the very same dress.
How was it working together?
I get why people are like, how can you work together, you two?
Yeah.
And particularly in the scenes you're shooting. But we don't have that relationship. I came from a much bigger family, but Damian's only ever had me, and I've only ever had Damian. If you're in it, you have to believe that you'll end up achieving what you want to achieve. You have to really, really want to succeed, or it's such a miserable life because you have so many knocks. People are so mean about you. You really have to want to do it to stay in it, or you really should do something else instead.
Hey guys, I'm giving away a signed copy of Mo Gowda and Alice Law's new book, Unstressable, which is absolutely incredible. I loved this book. Please subscribe and leave us a comment now for a chance to win this incredible book by Mo Gowda. Hi, I'm ABBEY CLANCY and welcome to Exhibit A. Today's guest needs absolutely no introduction. She is the ultimate icon, Elizabeth Hurley.
Hello, Abby.
I'm literally got fangirl crush going on here.
Well, it's mutual. Me and my sister fell in love with you when you did Strictly.
Oh, thank you.
We were rooting for you. We're so glad you won.
Thank you.
So you've been our favourite ever since.
Well, that's 11 years ago. Can you believe?
No, I really can't believe that.
I know.
I would have said it was 3 years ago.
I know. It feels 3 years ago, but yeah, 11. Where does the time go?
Can you remember your dances?
Yeah.
I liked
After
your
a few drinks.
free-form dance. I think you had bare feet for that and a
Yes.
floaty dress. It was beautiful.
Yeah. It was an incredible experience because obviously I'm not a dancer and getting to learn like a new skill and listen to music.
Had you never done ballet as a little girl?
No.
Oh.
I did a bit of kind of, dancing and singing, but nothing like classically trained or anything.
You would not have been able to tell.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to start today with a few quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, it's a silly bit of advice, and it was my grandmother who told me to always sleep with the window open.
Okay.
Fresh air, heating off in your bedroom, and just air everywhere.
Yeah.
And she said, otherwise you look peaky and puffy. And I think it's true.
I think it's so.
Yeah.
Is that the secret to the Elizabeth Hurley look?
It definitely is. Window open. But it's true. I think sometimes when you go to America particular, you're in hotel rooms where they seal all the windows shut, so you can't open them and you have to have comfort air, whether it's warm or cold. I can't stand it.
No.
And I look hideous.
Yeah.
So I think fresh air.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you could only wear one outfit for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'm sorry, it would have to be jeans.
Yeah.
I guess I wear jeans pretty much every day of my life. I don't think I wear skirts. I'm impressed to see you're in a skirt.
I know, I don't. See,
I don't wear
it's because I'm at
skirts.
work, you see.
Yeah.
I've either got my gym stuff on or my jeans.
I said jeans, but I probably really meant sweatpants.
Yeah, exactly. Is there one role you wish you'd played in your career?
Golly. Well, yes. I liked Angelina Jolie's part in Maleficent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
God, I could see you as that.
that was, yeah. I mean, she was brilliant. I wouldn't have been better than her, of course, but that was a glorious part.
Yeah, it is. I absolutely love that film. A moment that changed your outlook on life.
Well, my dad died it was a long time ago now. I was just in my late 20s. And I really feel that he died much too young. He was only 67.
Gosh.
And I would have just loved him to have met my son. I'd have loved him, to have seen so much that I'm doing, moved to my house in the country with me. My mother lives with me, but he would have loved it there. And I felt completely different after he died, I think.
Yeah.
I think, you just want to seize the moment more and make the most of everyone you've got. It really taught me a lesson.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, how do you define success?
I think success is probably not having too many regrets when you go to bed at night. For me, it's just knowing you did your best, gave everything your best shot and aren't full of, should have done that, should have said yes, should have taken that risk. They're the only things I regret when I chickened out or something.
When you were growing up, did you ever imagine that your life would be how it is today? Elizabeth Hurley, the icon.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was a little girl. So I studied ballet and I wanted to be a ballet dancer for a while, but that was never going to happen. I grew way too tall and was wasn't good enough. But I always wanted to do something in show business because I could never think of anything else I wanted to do. My dad was in the army. My mum was a school teacher. And I'm the worst teacher in the world, as my son would tell you. When I tried to revise with him, he was just like, Mum, stop it. I'm not allowed to teach him to drive. I'm not a very good teacher. I don't have much patience. So yeah, I wanted to do show business. And I think when you go into that, you have to really, really want to succeed, or it's such a miserable life and a miserable time because you have so many knocks. People are so mean about you that you really have to want to do it to stay in it, or you really should do something else instead. So I think if you're in it, you have to believe that you'll end up achieving what you want to achieve, or I don't know why people will stay in it.
Yeah, of course.
So yes, in a way, I think I have had some confidence, enough confidence to keep going, that's for sure.
And what were your first steps into, making it in that world?
Well, I started off as a dance student at college, but I switched over to the drama course within a few weeks when I realized that it's one of those schools where everybody was probably the best in their town or village or something when you go to these sort of, drama stage schools, whatever they are. But I was nowhere near the best in dance. I mean, so nowhere near the best in dance. I was in the bottom group. And so then I switched over to the drama course because I'd also studied drama and I loved it. And I started getting some really good parts. And then I got an agent when I was at college and they started putting me up for commercials and stuff. And then when I was about to leave, I got my first theatre tour. And then I just loved it from then. I knew I was never going to do anything else.
And are you in London at this point? Had you moved?
Yeah, I moved to London for college when I was 18.
Okay. And how was that moving? Because that's young, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, I mean, it was normal. I mean, my parents, they lived in sort of the suburb country. It was the country, but it wasn't deep, dark country like I live in now. And at that age and at that time, with no disrespect to my parents, who I loved and adored, all I wanted to do was leave home.
Yeah.
I was just dying to leave home.
Ready.
But yeah, there was just no question of staying at home. So at 18, I was just ready. Suitcases packed, ready to go. And, I lived in a tiny little bedsit, didn't have a penny, but loved it. Loved it, yeah.
I read that you used to be a bit of a punk rocker with pink hair and piercings.
Well, that's true. When I arrived at college, yeah, I did. I looked dreadful. And I remember my drama teacher, who funnily enough actually now lives in one of my cottages.
Oh, wow.
And is nearly 90. And I owe him just so much. So he lives with me now. But at the time, I remember he walked in and we were all introduced. He looked at me and went, very employable. I was like, oh, really? That was kind of cool where I came from.
Yeah.
So yeah, gradually the nose ring came out and the hair finally went back to its own colour and I grew it. But yeah, so I wasn't very cool. Obviously, I was unemployable.
But you've always remained so authentic to your style. You've got a signature style that is, timeless. Do you think that's contributed to your success?
Well, I would always have liked to be more fashionable and follow fashion and trends and styles more. But I've just never been bothered, to be honest. So if I'm not at work, so I'm in smart clothes today, but normally I wear exactly the same things every single day, which I'm afraid is a jeans and T-shirt. Probably slightly moved to sweatpants and T-shirt and a sweatshirt and Uggs. And that's kind of pretty much all I wear. And then even in real life, I think we kind of find a uniform really, which for me has been since the 80s or 90s, black leather pants and a black polo-neck sweater in the winter.
I think me and you've got the same wardrobe going on. I'm not even joking.
And it's just every day. I mean, that's just, I wore it then, I wear it now, and it's so comfortable for me. And I guess also, some people are skirts people and dress people, and some people are pants people. And I'm sure it depends on your hips and your bottom ratio and all that stuff. And I'm very comfortable in jeans.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely, I don't know why I've got a skirt on today. I think I had to dress up. We've got to talk about that dress. It's coming up to nearly the 30-year anniversary. I cannot believe that.
Well, I know. I was told that the other day, that the dress that I borrowed back in 1994 was having its 30th birthday. And in fact, apparently the dress is very famous and goes on world tours of its own.
So you didn't keep the dress?
So, I never kept the dress. I mean, when I borrowed it that night, I'd never heard of Versace. I don't think I'd ever worn anything designer in my life. I didn't own a pair of evening shoes or an evening bag. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So I just borrowed that dress and then it went straight back the next day in the same carrier bag it had turned up in. But now, you know, it's a very famous dress. It's been in the Metropolitan Museum. It's been in the Victoria and Albert Museum. It's been on tour. It's gone to Tokyo. It's gone to Australia. Apparently, nothing to do with me. But Lady Gaga's worn the very same dress.
She wore your dress?
Yeah, she wore the dress. She looked fantastic in it.
I can't believe they let someone else wear your dress.
What can I say? It wasn't mine.
I don't know how I feel about that. And I love Gaga, but
I know.
It's your dress.
I was actually pretty pleased. But she looked great.
But did you ever imagine, after that moment, you were literally propelled into superstardom. You were a household name instantly. Like, how did you deal with that kind of press attention?
You know, it was a really strange thing. Sometimes things just happen, and they happen. So it just happened that my then boyfriend Hugh suddenly had a massive hit movie, which wasn't expected to be a hit. When it when it first came out and was reviewed in England, it got shocking reviews. Then it went to America and suddenly became a huge sleeper hit. And then it became massive in England too. And they had a big hit song. Probably weren't even born when the movie came out, but there was a really hit song called "Love Is All Around" or something like "Wet, Wet," which was the song of the moment. It was the song of the summer, and everything just fell into place. It was just a really strange thing. And I remember we went to the screening that night. It was a premiere, and then the next day we were flying to Cannes, where the movie Hugh's movie was playing, and there was no internet in those days. And we got onto the plane the next day, and in those days, newspapers were handed around on that, and we sat there. And the newspapers came out and we were on the front page of every newspaper. We were like, what? What does this mean? And then, suddenly we were famous. It was extraordinary.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Talking about movies, you've been in dozens of incredible, iconic movies. What has been your favourite role?
Well, I think really it was, again, one from the 90s, and it was probably Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah.
I've
actually dressed up as you.
Have you?
Yeah.
God, I bet you. In the silver or the black?
In the silver.
In the silver. Well, I still sign photographs of me in that silver mini.
I actually sound like a stalker, but I'm not, don't worry.
Oh, I bet you look cool. I think it was that. And I think the reason why it's my favourite is it was a fabulous time of my life at that time, with no disrespect to my son. But, you know, I hadn't had children yet. I wasn't married. It was just... It's a funny time, isn't it, pre-kids? Because it's all about you.
Yeah.
It's just...
We often reminisce about those days, my husband and I.
Yeah. When it's
Why
about
did we
us.
do this?
Well, you did it so many times.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a funny feeling. And you would never go back for a billion years, but they were magical times when all you're worrying about is yourself. And that happened to be a magical film. And I think I love it because people still love it. And it brought a lot of happiness to a lot of people. So I guess that's something.
You took a break when you had Damian.
Yep.
But you brought out your own brand,
Yeah.
Elizabeth Hurley Beach, which is nearly 20 years.
It is.
Which is
It's
incredible.
going to be 20 years next year. No, I know. It's a funny thing. So I decided not to film for a while whilst he was little because I wanted to be the one to, you know, make his shepherd's pie and take him to school and do bed and bath time and stuff. And I just didn't want to miss that. And
Are
I
you a
didn't
good
want...
cook?
I'm a mummy cook.
Yeah.
So I can do mummy food. I can do roasts and, you know, shepherd's pie and stuff like that. I'm not chefy at all.
Yeah.
You are, because I see you on your Instagram.
No, I'm actually not. It's
Really?
I can
Is it
make a
pretend?
roast and a shepherd's pie. Yeah, it's Insta versus reality.
Yeah, well, I think mummy cooking, well, I like mummy cooking.
I do.
I like lamb chops and mashed potatoes and
Same.
stuff. So I can do all that, and make
I try and
cakes.
entice Pete home from golf, you know, take a picture of the lamb chops in the oven, you know, come home. But yeah, I'm average.
Yeah,
average.
I'm a mummy average housewifey cook, which is all I want to eat. So it's actually fine by me. So I wanted to take that time out, and I was sitting with a friend, and I just said, but you know, I'd really like to do something because I want to go back to work. So I don't want to completely disappear and just bury myself in the country. So we thought, and we were on vacation at the time and complaining that we hadn't bought any nice bikinis. So we were like, well, let's do bikinis. Yeah. So we just literally started it on a whim by sketching on envelopes and working out how much Lycra cost and how much it would cost to make this many and and just started it like that. And I'm really glad I did, because it was a way that when I was taking the time out to be at home with Dee, I could really keep my end in and keep really busy and really focused and keep the mind engaged. So I still did all my Estee Lauder work and I do little tiny bits. I just didn't go away on location for a long time. And in fact, I think it kept me in really good stead. And it also really reminded me how hard it is to make a buck.
Yes.
When you're out of silly show business and you're in the real world, it's hard with a small business. And I kept it small. I had lots of offers to buy me out by big companies. And I was just like, actually, I don't want to do that. The whole point of this was to keep it cottage industry, have my family involved in it. And that's what I wanted to do. And so we still do it to this day. And we like it. It's exactly what I want it to be.
Why do you think it's had such longevity? Like, because there's not a lot of brands, startup brands that last 20 years.
I think it's because we didn't try to go too big. We didn't get bought and we didn't try and expand. And we probably did the exact opposite of what you're meant to do to grow a business. So we never particularly grew it, but we just kept it where we wanted it to be. And I think we got a loyal fan base, loyal customers. And it just worked for us. It just worked keeping it not much bigger than a cottage industry, to be honest. And now we made it even smaller again. So during lockdown, we decided to stop wholesaling. So now we just sell online and just to a few small wholesale customers who are old loyal customers, like a resort in the Maldives or something like that. And actually, we now make more money than we made when it was a way bigger business. And we're not dealing with really difficult department stores. And it was just it was a really tough business. It's actually a very tough, to be a small business and to try to do big things is actually quite tough. So to be a small business and do small things really works. Or you try and expand and you do like a friend of mine, Trini, who's done her makeup business. She did the opposite. You know, she really wanted a big business, which she grew properly with investors and slowly. And she did it beautifully and she's done incredibly well. But I just didn't want to do that because I knew I also wanted to go make movies again.
Yeah.
Which I have and really like doing.
How is it when you're out of a job? Do you get worried?
In the pre-Damian days, in the olden days, yes, the minute you wrapped a movie, if you didn't know when your next one was coming, you had a high level of anxiety.
Yeah.
But once you've got a family and a home, and in my case, my own small business, no, I think I've really learned that there's always another job and there is always another job. And I think I've now finally learned to enjoy the downtime in between, knowing that the minute it kicks off again, you have no time to do anything, no time to do your admin, no time to be nice to your family, to see your friends, to play with the dogs. You have any time at all. You're just laser focused. So I think I'm finally getting to a stage where I can enjoy not filming.
Yeah. And how do you choose the roles?
It changes. It changes all the time. I mean, I've had times in my career where I've been much hotter in the business and there's a stack of things, a stack of offers. I've had times where there's one offer and you say, do I do it or don't I do it?
Yeah.
Maybe, financially I needed to do it, or it was a great part, not very good financially, but it was something nice. It was a director I wanted to work with or an actor I wanted to work with. Or sometimes you just want to work and sometimes you're like, I don't really want to do that. Financially, it's not that interesting. Cast-wise, not that interesting. I don't want to be in, out of Mongolia for 3 months, so I don't do it. Yeah. So it's nice, when you get to a stage where
you can pick and choose.
You can pick and choose it a bit. Not that I have 100 offers on my desk ever anymore. There's a handful of offers and I either choose the best one or don't do any.
So you've worked with Estee Lauder for
29 years.
29 years, and can you talk me through your breast cancer campaign with those and why it is so important to you?
Yeah, well, I first started working with Estee Lauder in 1995 and it was just a phenomenal job for me, which I thought I'd be lucky if it lasted a year or two. I'd never even modeled before. I was an actress.
Yeah, that was your first modeling job, wasn't it?
Yeah, first and pretty much only modeling job to date. So when I got that, it was just extraordinary and I thought I was the luckiest person in the world. And I just ended up building a really good relationship with them. So for, 15, 20 years or whatever, I shot all their ads. And then right at the beginning of that, I'd also helped them raise money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which was something that Evelyn Lauder, who was Estee Lauder's daughter-in-law, started. And she asked me if I'd help with that, which I did. And then gradually it segued that I ended up just doing an awful lot. So now I'm their global ambassador for the Estee Lauder Company's breast cancer campaign. And it's become, I think it's really one of the most important things that I do and one of the most meaningful things that I do because we just raise funds for breast cancer research.
Yeah.
And, the foundation that we work with, they've been part of every single major breakthrough in breast cancer in terms of science, in terms of medicine, in terms of education, in everything. And it's just an amazing thing to be part of, I think. And then over the years, because, it's 29 years now, wherever I go, almost always somebody will say, my mother died of breast cancer.
Yeah.
My daughter has breast cancer. I've just been diagnosed. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, and it just means a lot. I mean, at the screening you came to the other night, there were 3 fabulous women there who I've met through the Estée Lauder campaign. One's a Black woman who now runs something called Black Women Rising, and she's one of our global ambassadors now.
Yeah.
And there's a woman from Southeast Asia. I mean, they're English, but originally from Southeast Asia. I think hers is called Supernova Asia or something. And there's a girl who's diagnosed incredibly young with breast cancer, and she does Girls versus Cancer. And they're just 3 amazing women that I've met through that are doing so much in their own communities to help. And they're inspirational. Everyone I meet who has anything to do with the breast cancer campaign are truly inspirational, very humbling. And my grandma died of breast cancer, and so many of my friends have been diagnosed with breast cancer that it's just something that I just feel passionate about.
Yeah. What should we be doing to check ourselves? Or anything we can do at home?
Well, yeah, there is. I mean, really, from puberty, girls should be checking their own breasts and familiarizing themselves with their own breasts so that if they feel a change, they go to their doctor. From 40, women should start having mammograms.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just staying in touch with your body, I think.
I had a mammogram the other day because I thought I was 40 and I'm not. I was 39. Can you believe that?
That's hysterical.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking I was a year older and kind of feeling really depressed about it, and being the hypochondriac I am, booked in, and they were like, Abby, you're not 40 yet. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Did they give you one anyway?
I did it anyway.
Yeah. Well,
but it's so important. I know it's it's a scary thing to do because everyone's terrified of what the outcome would be, but it's best to know, and then you can at least get that chance to fix it.
If breast cancer is found early and it's localized, there's a 90% chance of a full recovery. But if it's found later, the odds are really stacked against you because the chances are it will spread. So that, even though it is daunting to have a check, and we all feel sick whilst we sit in the office waiting to be checked, there isn't a better thing you could do for you and your family, because we're the caretakers of the world, and if we're not there, we can't take care of anyone else.
Exactly. For anyone who's looking to get into the acting world, what advice would you give them? Is it different today than when you started out?
Well, I think not everybody's trained. And I know lots of successful people who've never had a training, but on the whole, I think it serves people very well to have some kind of training, whether that's actually going to a drama school or community lessons or joining groups, whatever it is. I think a training of some sort is incredibly useful. Sometimes people will come onto a show that I'm on and they're untrained, and it's not that they're not a good actor, because they can be very good, but they're bungling along.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're trained in something, you learn how to conquer your nerves.
Of course.
So that when your heart's beating before they're about to say action, you're not going to start. It's really funny, actually. So in real life, anybody in the world would walk into a room, put their cup down and sit in a chair.
Yeah.
It's not difficult because we all do it all day long. But when you're nervous and the camera's rolling,
it's impossible.
People will miss the table with that. They'll miss the chair. They'll knock over stuff because they're in such a panic, they forget actually how to be human.
That's me. It's like when I started this, I've got 2 lines I couldn't read. It's like, look at the camera and read. I'm dripping in sweat. Can't see, can't read, can't talk.
It's the
so
strangest thing, because everybody can actually sit in a chair without missing it in real life.
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that.
Almost 100% of the time, an amateur on set or someone very early in their career, they'll actually just forget how to be. So I think training really helps with that, because you do many, many exercises and you learn how to focus and stop the panic. So I would say training is good. And then really it's just about getting an agent and getting people to see you in something.
Yeah.
So no matter how small it is, you need to act, you need to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or now, because everybody's got a camera phone, you have to record yourself doing scenes.
Yeah.
You know, practicing scenes. Take your favorite scene from a movie and just have someone hold a camera on you and just rehearse it, play it back and decide if you could redo that one and do it better. Because it's very much changed. When I started, you were sort of sent round 6 or 8 auditions a day. You were just on the tube all day long, running with an A to Z in your hand in those days, running from casting to casting. But now I don't think that happens. I think people just self-tape. So you have plenty of opportunities to put yourself on tape and retake it a million times. We used to have to go in the room and read. And then, 9 times out of 10, you can mess it up and you go out going, that's another one blown. Thanks a bunch. But now, people can do it and watch it back. So it could be a little easier now, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Because everything's so instant, isn't it? With social media and everything, people can go viral overnight. So yeah, I probably think it is easier. What is a typical day in the life of Elizabeth Hurley?
Well, there's proper work days. Like today's a proper work day when I have to be somewhere at a certain time. So on those days, I just obey orders. I get up when I get up. So today my hair and makeup call was 6 a.m. So I set my alarm for 5 to 6 because I don't have to do anything. Come downstairs and then I just obey. They tell me when to get in the car. They tell me what to wear, blah, blah, blah. And I just do it. Same with filming days. Whatever your pickup is. For a girl, it's normally like 4:30 a.m. because we're in the makeup chair for so long. And you just obey. You eat when you eat. You just do whatever you're told. On days when I'm not working, I normally get up fairly early, 7-ish.
Yeah.
Play with the dogs, feed the dogs, walk the dogs, feed the bird, play with the parrot.
Have you got a parrot?
Got a parrot called Ping Pong, who I love. Then I'll slurp endless coffees, and I'm still in my tracksuit, which I'm probably going to remain in all day. And then, like everybody, I set up my laptop, try and do as much admin as I can, try and make myself tidy up something, do as much gardening as I can, go outside with the dogs, and then just jump between my laptop and mummy stuff, housewife stuff, just stuff.
Yeah.
Bit of cooking, bit of shopping.
Just shepherd's pie on the go.
Get shepherd's pie on the go. Just normal. I mean, just normal days. And I try not to sit at my laptop for 8 hours solid. When I'm in the country, which is where I prefer to be, I'll sort of sit there for 40 minutes, then try and go and do something for 20, then come back, go outside for 20. Whereas in London, I don't really leave the house.
Yeah.
So I just tend to sit at my laptop working.
Well, I suppose you can't really leave the house. Reflecting on your life and career, what memories fill you with the most joy?
And I think lockdown really brought all this into focus for me. Lockdown really made me remember how much I loved my family.
Yeah.
And my old friends, and how really that was what gave me the most satisfaction. Just spending time with people I love and forgetting about the rest of it so much more. And I really connected again with not only with the people that I really wanted to spend time with, but I think I became much more the person I was before I left home than the person I'd become. It wasn't that different. It was just acknowledging things that I liked doing, which I'd pushed aside and didn't give enough value to.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds absurd, but I always liked sewing and making jam. And I really liked some of those things, which I hadn't had time to do and almost forgot that I liked.
Yeah.
And I really started doing that sort of thing again. I mean, it sounds pretty pathetic.
It doesn't.
But I really liked it. And I've learned now that to stop feeling guilty for preferring to be in the country, playing with the dogs and doing the garden. Because I do. I prefer it. So I do that now without feeling guilty.
We are literally the same person, which I'm so happy about.
Good.
It's lockdown for me was like the best time of my life. Felt like we were out of the rat race. I was playing board games with the kids that could last for hours instead of 5 minutes. Come on, before you're going to do homework, go to this, do that, go to bed.
I loved it.
I loved it. We were making cakes together, going on walks. We had the animals with us. The first one especially, the weather was incredible. And I just...
First lockdown was my favourite time since I left home.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was been
and
one of the...
my mum, my brother, my sister. I had a few friends all in the house. I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We loved it.
So how can we make our lives more like that more often?
We need to retire.
We need to retire and sometimes see less not strangers, but just really not feel that we have to, I think, just be doing so much all the time.
I think it's a hard thing because you are stuck in that kind of, I need to work, I need to be seen, I need to...
We do.
Well, obviously, we've all got bills to pay. But I don't want to leave my house. No. And my friends are like, you're like a grandma, you're like a hermit. But I'm like, that's my happiest place.
Yeah, me too.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay too. I've done things like I've been getting out dresses, older dresses, and just thinking, I'm so sick of stuff arriving all the time.
Yeah.
I actually want to wear my stuff I've got. I want to look after my stuff I've got, which we're always told to do and I never did. And now I'm really enjoying that. I want to get rid of stuff. I don't want to acquire anything else.
Yeah.
I've got more than enough for life and I don't want anything else.
No. This morning I was, obviously it's such a beautiful day today. I got all my cushions, my outdoor cushions out, put them on the thing, on the table. I was cleaning my orangery with fairy liquid. And my mum was like, aren't you meeting Elizabeth in half an hour? I'm like, yeah. She was like, you best get in the shower and go get ready. I was like, I'm just finishing cleaning my orangery and then... But, it's
I'm
just the ridiculous things that make you
But it's
happy.
nice not to feel guilty about enjoying that or feel that it makes us less than to admit we like doing really basic things.
I know.
Because I do.
Yeah,
it's how I grew up and it's what I like.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Right. Before we talk about what's next for Elizabeth Hurley, we should get your gorgeous boy in.
Let's get the child
Damian,
in. Child.
Director, writer, superstar. Damian, thank you for joining us with your beautiful mum.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on the movie and thanks for inviting me to the premiere the other night. It was...
Thank you for coming.
You know what? I loved it. I thought it was an incredible movie and, I recommend everyone to go and watch it. But what inspired you to write and direct this?
God, I came up with the initial treatment when I was 17 after I lost a really close friend to suicide. And it was a really devastating time. We were all so young. It was the first real loss me and my friends had ever known. And I wrote this idea for a film, I was 17, I didn't know what to do with it. And it got tucked away into a little drawer. And then when I was 20, just coming out of lockdown, I made a short film, which an executive at Lionsgate saw. And they said, we really like you as a young filmmaker. Do you have any scripts? We'd be really interested. If you were interested in writing and directing a feature film, we'd love to do it. Do you have any scripts? And I was like, yeah, of course. No. Ran away, sprinted through everything I'd ever written. And I found this idea. And obviously, I'd grown up a little in the time in between, but it was basically the same. So all the names are of people I was at school with and all my friends from the time. And it's, so it was a kind of a cathartic, really strange thing to bring to life, but we did it. Yeah.
And Elizabeth, you bought him his first camera when he was 8, is that right?
Yeah. And from that day on, he just became obsessed. He was never,
a despot.
He was never seen anywhere. He always had a camera in his hand. I gave him a little camcorder and he used to carry my massive, big, proper cameras with the big lenses. He used to carry them everywhere and he was so little. And he started
really heavy.
Yeah, and he started photographing me all the time. And I think probably by 11, he was shooting half our beach campaigns. He's a great stills photographer too. And started doing all the video. So he's been literally since pre-puberty. I've got pictures of him lugging this stuff and he just had an eye. So he'd been filming me for so long that it was a very natural progression because on this, on the press tours we've been doing for this movie, everyone's like, my God, isn't it just really weird having your son be your director and having your son
be the boss,
photograph you and having your son direct you in some of those scenes which are intimate and stuff. And I'm like, no, it just feels, no.
Really it's just normal, natural progression.
Our normal is... him with a camera in his hand. So
which probably isn't normal for most.
But it's our normal, right?
Yeah, it's our normal.
So for us, it just felt completely natural. And I produced the movie. And so I helped him a lot with the logistics and the stuff that he, of course, wouldn't know how to do because he's, a kid. It's his first movie. But actually on the set and being in command of the set and of the crew and the cast, it was him. I didn't have to do anything.
Were you not scared? That's a huge responsibility.
I've been doing it for so long on a non-professional mini scale, but no, I'm very comfortable being a despot, going around bellowing things. No, and as well, I had a really, really supportive cast and crew on this. My cast have become my best friends, most of whom you met at our premiere.
How did you cast them?
God, I mean, because this all happened so fast that we were on the island with a start date that we had to start by, or we couldn't finish in time for Christmas. So we had, a couple of weeks to cast this entire thing virtually over Zoom with all of
Zoom and self-taped.
which was insane. My lead actress, Georgia Locke, my producer, had made a movie with and said, this girl is phenomenal. You have to check her out. And
She's
I
fabulous.
literally, the second she came on screen in the film they made, I went, yes, absolutely, offer it, done. The wonderful Freddie Thorpe, who I had dinner with his agent a couple of weeks before, and he went, this could be great for him. And the second we had a call, and I was like, he's perfect, yes. And the rest through tapes, really,
Self-tapes.
Laura McQueen, who's one from your homeland.
Yeah.
Who's
I
amazing.
cannot believe she is Scouse.
Her
You've got to
accent
see the
is
EPK.
impeccable.
She'll be posting a bit of EPK in a minute, which is the behind-the-scenes footage,
Yeah.
and you'll hear her.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I'll put it on mine as well, so you'll see her. It's hysterical. She's like a different person.
Completely.
She's so good. I mean, she really, all of them, every single person, I could sit here talking about them for hours. But yeah.
But I like the fact that for Damian's first movie, he because he was obviously a young adult at the time, and he wrote a story about young adults, really for young adults.
Yeah.
So I think it was really nice that he kept it very much in the area that he knew and was familiar with. And I think that was quite important.
Yeah.
That for your first film, you were dealing with people only a little bit older than you, basically your generation.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's what you know. If you're appealing to like the message you're trying. What was the message you're trying to get across with the?
Not a lot of time, not a lot of money, and really, it's not my submission to be the next Godfather, but it's a fun little film. I love it. I really hope people do too. It's it's I don't know. I hope people enjoy it. I think most people can really deep films and what they're meant to mean and what they're meant to say. I think movies are entertainment.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. People can come home from a really hard day, sit down, and just be transported into another world. I love films that feel like real films, not just, I think there's a time and a place for realism, but I don't love it in my films. I like immersing into a magical world that is just totally different. We're all perfectly capable of walking down the street, getting on the tube and seeing realism every day, but I don't like that at least in my films. I like to be transported somewhere special.
That's good. Such a good point, actually. How was it working together? Because I know my mum was a hairdresser, and we'd kill each other. Every time she came near my hair, she'd whack me on the head with the brush, because we'd fight.
I love my mum, but I couldn't have worked with my mother. And the idea of me filming her is mind-boggling, which is why I get why people are like, how can you work together, you two?
Yeah.
And particularly in the scenes you're shooting. But we don't have that relationship. So, I came from a much bigger family, mum, dad, 2 siblings. But Damian's only ever had me. And I've only ever had Damian.
And I think when you're a single parent, single child, the facade of I'm the parent, you're the child, you're going to do what I say kind of goes, because you can't sulk off in a gang of kids or sulk off in a gang of parents because you'd be alone. You just
it's
be
different.
sitting
So,
on the end of the house.
I've done both.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it's just, we've had a shorthand and a closeness, which is very different to how I had my parents. And I loved my parents, but it was, the idea of having them at work with me would have been horrific. I could never have stood it, but we just don't have that.
No.
We're like little twin souls in some ways.
Yeah,
and it works really well.
The twin.
That
Our family calls us the twins.
I actually think he could be better looking than you, Elizabeth.
I know.
Unfortunately.
Definitely got better hair.
It is an incredible movie, and you must be so proud of him.
I am. I'm really, the thing I'm proudest of, which is the thing that nobody else would see or know, is that the going was very, very tough sometimes. It was very tough. A lot of people would have got on a plane and gone home, and he didn't. And there was no question of him doing it. He is underneath the pretty surface. He's tough, really tough. And that's the thing that I'm the proudest of him.
And you're proud with the outcome.
Yeah, I love the film. It's not going to be for everyone, but I really love it. And my grandma loved it. My 84-year-old grandma loved it, but I really wanted to impress.
Well, that's all you need. The grandma's seal of approval.
Well, she's been in so many of his movies. That's my mum.
Almost every single one.
She was in
tortured.
tons of his baby movies. Dressed as a witch, dressed as a monster, dressed as the evil queen, dressed as she did everything. A dwarf in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. She's done everything. So they too.
We're not selling these as prestigious projects.
Really close. No, my mum used to call him her best friend at some time. They were really close.
I'm the favourite. There are 5 of us grandkids, and I'm openly
That's
acknowledged
ridiculous.
as the favourite.
That's absolutely
it's true.
ridiculous.
It's true.
But
I will
I'd
say
never
that
leave
on
him.
record.
So whenever I had a job, I'd never take a job unless my mum could be there or my sister, because I never wanted to leave him with people I was paying on the payroll. As much as I loved and trusted them, and he never spent a night with anybody that wasn't family, because I just knew I could never live with myself if something
No,
happened.
that's exactly the same in my house as well.
Yeah.
It's not worth the risk, is it? You know,
No, it's
and you
not
can't.
worth
All the
risk.
worry, all the stress.
No.
You'd just be sitting there biting your nails,
Yeah,
anxious.
and
You know, if they're with your mum or your sister, you don't even have to give them a
No.
second thought.
You just trust them. You trust their
Yeah.
judgment. They'd get them to the hospital. Whatever they had to do, they'd do it. We know
Yeah.
that. But again, you know, going back to sort of lockdown and how it's changed. I now live with my brother in London and my sister in the country and my mum. So we're all back together again, exactly like we're in the 70s. It's really weird.
That's us though. I lived with my mum for years. Every date me and Pete went on, my mum was with us. Pete was like, I'm in a throuple. Yeah, and then in lockdown, I had everyone with us, all the dogs, Great Danes, family.
It's heaven.
It's heaven, and it's lucky because not everyone has that. Like I feel really privileged to have that, and
I sometimes I feel so bewildered when I hear about people who say, you know, I hate my mother.
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
we're
I
very-
haven't
no, we're
spoken
very
to my
lucky that
brother
we
for
don't-
20
Yeah.
years
Oh,
or
I know.
something. You're like, I mean, you know, of course we all bicker the entire time and moan and complain and roll eyes. But the idea of not standing up for family in the end, I just don't get it.
But I think we're also all very lucky that our family are all pretty nice.
Yeah.
You know, we're not overcoming hideous obstacles to be close to them. They're all very
Yeah,
nice.
that is true.
It's true.
Before you both go, I want to ask you one last question. What would the one piece of advice you would give to someone to stand you in good stead?
I think my best bit of advice would just be to keep going. That as you get older, you're knocked down so many times. The only thing that matters is that you get up again. Yeah. You've just got to keep going.
Mine is fake it till you make it, which is overused, but I love it. Just fake it and fake it and fake it, and one day it'll be true.
Yeah, good advice. Mine's, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. Which
I
I
love
stole.
that.
I stole from Margot Robbie.
I love that. Thank
I
you,
know.
Margot.
I know.
I love that very much.
Thanks, Margs. Right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
really. Yay!
What's the most expensive house you've ever sold?
In excess of 150 million. I did a 70 million last week.
Becky Fattamy.
£8.3 billion of property.
I work with ultra high net worth individuals who own multiple properties across the world. I specialize in 2 million plus. If I'm dealing with you, I'm dealing with everyone in your family. Left home at 15 and I've hustled ever since. Clean toilets. I worked at McDonald's. I remember someone calling saying, this artist needs a stylist. And I'm like, I'm a stylist. So I ended up styling Rihanna. What? Which was nuts. I'm building something with my team that is going to change the face of property. Never settle. Don't not follow your gut. Anything I do, my next chapter is tech, is disruption. What makes a great leader? You're only as good as your team. The best leaders employ people that are better than them at doing what they're doing. I work with a lot of billionaires. These people are worth 8, 9, 10, 12 billion. For me, success is, but also, that's the key, right? You know, I lived on a pretty bad estate when I was growing up. My boyfriend killed himself. He died of a drug overdose on Valentine's Day in front of me. We were trying to get him out of his environment. We couldn't. And he died at 27.
You've helped hundreds of people. Like, which
And they've
is
helped me, you know. I'm here to let you know that you might think that what you are and what you're living can't make you money, but it can. My greatest achievement is staying alive, because as many times in my life I should have been dead or in prison. Standing here, not having tried to kill myself at the worst times in my life, where I've had no money, I've had no food, got the call that my dad's died, my boyfriend's dead, everyone's dead. None of my family have seen my son grow. At the worst times, it's always going to be okay, even though it might not feel like it. Tomorrow's always another day, right?